Welcome to Spiritual Connection. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm a shamanic practitioner, I'm an energy healer, and I'm a transformation coach. I'm also the spiritual head of the Transformation Center CT, which is located in Westport, Connecticut. So at the center, we do a variety of trainings, we have workshops, we just did one on essential oils a couple of weeks ago. We have a lot coming up in the future, and we'd love for you to join us. So you can just visit our website, which is transformationcenterct.com, and you'll find a variety of things throughout the year. But also regularly, monthly, we host satsang, which is Sanskrit for in the company of the truth. And it's typically held the last Wednesday of the month or the fourth Wednesday of the month in the evening. So all are welcome. Please join us. So for the Spiritual Connection show, you know, it is all about connection. It's about connecting with each other as well as connecting more fully with our own spiritual selves. So you're here to learn from all the guests. I have a different guest each week, and they're going to share their story and also what services they offer. So please join us every week if you can. So tonight, my guest is Fiona Eckersley. Welcome to the show, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad this worked out. It's really nice to have you here. I'm just going to say a little bit about you that you sent me for our audience so they can get to know you just a little bit. So Fiona is a confidence coach. She's an author and a divorce recovery expert. She works with women over 40 who are coping with major life transitions, such as divorce, and she takes them from focused on the past and fearful of their future to confident and in control of all aspects of their lives. I love that. What a great service.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really super, and I'm eager to hear more about that in a few minutes. But first, the question I really like to ask everybody on the show is, could you just tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey, how you kind of got to where you are, anything you want to share tonight?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Well, you know, I think I probably could have been described as the world's biggest skeptic, you know, maybe even 10 years ago. I grew up in the north of England, you know, I had went to school to be a teacher, went to Sierra Leone, which is in West Africa, met my future husband and ended up teaching in New York. We got married, and 17 years and 4 kids later, I found myself suddenly divorced. Not something that I'd been expecting or had really seen coming. And so that kind of put me, it was something that I never thought would happen to me. It wasn't on my realm. So I was that person who was focused on the past. You know, what should have been? Where should I be now? Why is this happening to me? You know, and even though, and I say this to my clients because I know that other women go through it. Everybody looks at you. You know, I was always like the strong person who everybody's like, oh, she can cope with anything. You know, I get through everything. I go do stuff by myself. That was the outside, right? The inside was not feeling that way at all. I went from like numb to like really sad to like absolutely terrified. Like what is going to happen now? You know, finances, looking after the kids, where am I going to live? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Relationships, like it was kind of all up in the air. So the longer this kind of went on, you know, basically I say I made every mistake that you can make and every silly thing that you can do. I pretty much did it, you know, to try and to cope with how things were going. And it got to the point where I was at a really low place in my life. And I realized that, you know, this wasn't really working for me. Like, you know, I woke up one morning and I had that like gnawing feeling in my gut, you know, like I can't do this anymore. And that was when I thought this has to change. And I kind of realized that I couldn't do it on my own, and I reached out and I found coaches. I actually studied coaching myself. I have a certificate in coaching. And through that, I began to find all these new things and people and experiences that I'd had no idea of. You know, law of attraction, what's that? Never heard of that. Limiting beliefs, what? So all of these things that now is like my everyday life that I use with my clients, I had to discover them. And it's been about 10 years, and it's been a pretty amazing journey, really. And I find that once you have these types of things in your life, and you surround yourself with people who also are, that's the most important part. It's like you surround yourself with people who believe in this and they practice this. The way you wake up in the morning is completely different. Like the sense of peace, the ability to cope with a lot of things that you didn't think you'd be able to cope with. It just, of course, everybody has problems, they pop up, right? Something's going to happen to everybody, but it's the way that you react to them, right? So I find that the beliefs that I've got now really help me to cope with that type of thing.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you just totally turned your life around.
I really did. I really think I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
I don't know if my children would agree, but I think I'm a lot calmer. I used to be pretty angry all of the time. I'm sure my ex-husband would agree with that. I don't think I'm that person anymore. I'm just a different level.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. You were able to transform that experience into something that now you can help other people transform their
and
lives.
Yes, and that's what I see in the women that I work with. A lot of them are even 10 years out. I've had clients who are 10 years out, and they're just still very angry. And that anger isn't hurting anybody but yourself.
No, it's toxic.
Yeah, really. And often what they're really angry at is not him. I mean, on the surface it's him, but it's them. Yeah. They're angry at themselves for all kinds of reasons. And if you can release that, and you can learn to forgive, forgiving someone else is the biggest gift you can give to yourself. And that's what I learned.
That's huge, isn't it? Yeah. And then that self-awareness that you were able to find through the tools.
Yeah.
The coaching, I agree, that's a huge, coaching training is, it starts with knowing yourself.
Right. Yeah, and when I started working with women after their divorce, I had my whole program that this is what they need, this is what we need to do. After the first several clients, I was like, nope, that's not what we need. And then, through talking to other coaches and whatever, this changed direction completely until now I have this basically 7 steps that I boiled it down to, which is in my book. And it is the forgiveness, the reframing emotions, all of that. That's being kind to yourself, what you say to yourself.
Yeah. So now you find that it is a kind of a universal process that you can pretty much use with everybody, and you wrote it down into a book for them?
Yes, it is. I do individual work. I do one-on-one right now, but it is pretty much the same format for everybody.
So what are the 7 steps? You mentioned a few of them. I'm curious because I haven't read your book yet.
Okay, now you put me on the spot.
You can remember.
Reframing emotions, forgiveness, looking at being realistic about your finances is a big one after divorce.
Okay.
What else? Oh, self-care. Really, what you say to yourself is incredibly important.
So all of that falls under self-care, like how you talk to yourself?
Yes.
You put that under there,
even things like, I'll give you an example of myself. So people would say, if I got a compliment, oh, that's a nice shirt. Wow, I got it at Marshall's, it was really cheap, right? If you notice, a lot of women do that. Like you get a compliment, and the first thing you do is you play it down.
Yeah, and you kind of deflect it.
Yeah,
in a way.
And instead, what you really need to say is thank you.
That's all you have to say,
just take it.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I think as women, I don't know what it is, but it's a society thing that we feel that we need to do that.
It's almost like apologize for something.
We're apologizing for existing half the time, yeah. Guilt is another huge issue. Looking back, that's one of the other steps, looking back on yourself as his better half and not your whole self. Because, I have 4 kids. Even if you don't have children, you're looking after your spouse, you're looking after your parents maybe, you're looking after your job. Even my dogs, right? It's like, it's craziness. And I'll say to women, one of the questions, goals and passions, I'll say to them, what do you think your goals are for the next couple of years? And many of the women that I speak to will be really embarrassed, and they'll go like, I don't know. what my goals are. And I'll say, don't be embarrassed, because I'm telling you that most people, that's what they say to me, because if you're so busy looking after everybody else all the time, you never actually have time to sit down and think about what is it that you want, you know, and that's one of the things, because if you don't have goals, you have nothing to strive for. Yeah. And often you don't think you're worthy enough to put that time and that effort into yourself. Yeah. So
that's part of the process.
That's part of the process.
You help your clients with is formulating goals.
Yes.
Based on
their passions,
or values. What they.
Which also goes along with, you know, maybe they need to get a new job, or maybe they need to do better in the job they have. I mean, for example, I had one client who. She was this amazing woman. She was married. She had 2 kids. She worked as a nurse full time, and she got 2 degrees at the same time. Then she got divorced, and she's still working full time. She's still looking after her kids. But she just felt like she was a big failure at work. And I'm like, what? You know, why do you feel that way? She goes, oh, I don't know. You know, I don't want to speak up at work. I feel like when we're in the meeting, I don't want to say anything. They might think I don't know what I'm talking about. So I said to her, I go, you know what, why don't you do me a favor? Next meeting, something comes up, you know what to say. I want you to say anything that comes into your head and just see what happens. So we got on the call the next week, and I could even tell the difference in her voice was amazing, because she said, I said my idea, and everybody's like, oh, that was a really good idea. You know, like just that little bit of confidence just changed her whole outlook towards her, you know, and then she felt like she could actually go for that promotion rather than trying to hide herself.
Yeah, so all she needed was that little bit of confidence.
Confidence is the key, honestly. I mean, that's why I say confidence coach, because and it's not about being loud and brash and outgoing or extrovert. It's just about feeling that you believing in yourself, essentially.
Yeah. And how do you get people to believe in themselves if they don't?
Well, a lot of the time I find that the reason they don't believe in themselves is because of, basically the divorce is, they come to me because of divorce for the most part. The divorce is sort of the final straw. It's not really the problem.
I see.
Right? What I find is we look back into their past history, and it's you know, what happened to them when they were a kid, why they ended up with this guy, why they put up with what they put up with in their marriage, and how they ended up where they are now.
Yeah, that makes
so,
sense.
You know, it's all about their limiting beliefs. Things that have said to you when you were a child, you know, we're all these little cute sponges running around. You know, when you're a child, you can believe you can do anything, right? And then all these ideas get put into you. People say things, even well-meaning things. You know, I had another client who, again, felt she was doing really badly at work. She had no confidence that she was doing well. She says, well, I'm not very bright. I know, what are you talking about? You're in charge of like all these people. Come to find out, when she was a little girl, her father used to say to her sister all the time, oh, you're so smart. And he'd say to her, oh, you're so pretty, right? And it totally innocently trying to be complimentary. But the message that she got was, I'm the pretty one, she's the smart one.
Isn't that amazing?
And that had an effect on her whole life.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect example of a limiting belief, and then the story we tell ourselves.
Right.
Then we believe the story.
And then they believe that, so that's what that becomes the belief of who they are. So what we do is we look at that, we see where it came from, and then I try and pull out examples. Like, you know, if you look for evidence, if you believe something, you're going to look for the evidence of that.
Yeah.
And you're going to find it.
That's so true.
If you start flipping it and you want to look for the evidence of who you really are, you can find that too. And once you start to actually look and see the truth, then you can start to believe in the way you should be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I was going to ask you if it's part of it is like having them, like your client at work. You know, you had her try something that she hadn't tried before, so she actually experienced that for herself. I mean, it wasn't like you were telling her, someone else was telling her.
Me telling somebody is not going to do any good. They have to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'll do sometimes if they're very hesitant about that, we do a visualization of it beforehand. So kind of like a meditation, but we will run through, and this is actually, it's pretty amazing. I mean, athletes do this all the time. They visualize playing the game and shooting the basket or doing whatever they do. And it's almost like it really truly happened in their brain. It's like some scientific, I can't quote the science, but it's a real thing.
I've read about that.
So,
it does something to your brain.
Yes,
yeah.
so I do that with my clients. We'll run through, if there's a scenario, if they know there's a meeting coming up or they know something's going to happen, we sit down and we try and go through all the senses. You know, what do you see around you? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? You know, all of that stuff. And we really try and make it as real as possible, and we just kind of go through the whole process. And then when you come to do it in real life, it's like you've already done it. It's less intimidating. So
that's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, I do that occasionally with sports, but not regularly. Just every once in a while, if I'm going to play tennis, then I'm just kind of. It's more like just visualizing it and just in my head myself. You know.
Right. Well, that's exactly what exactly what it is. But
yeah. So people could do that on their own if you train them how to do it.
Exactly.
So then they can just pick it up whenever they need it. Yeah, that's
right.
cool. That's a great tool to have in your toolbox, isn't it? Yeah, that's awesome. So people who have divorces, why are they different, do you think, from other clients? Like, how is that distinct?
I think the women that I work with anyway, the ones that find me, right? You find the people find you, need you, right? So the ones that find me, it tends to be that they've been married for a long time, or and they've been in a very controlling relationship for the most part. Even if they're the ones that have left, even if they're the ones who actually had an affair and then the marriage ended, because I've had clients like that too. It's the controlling relationship, again, comes from how they grew up and what they're used to and how they feel they deserve to be treated, right? And so when that controlling relationship goes away, they still feel like they're tied to this person. And those are the type of people, and those are the ones with the really low self-worth, and those are the ones who are not feeling confident and feel like they can't move on. They are focused on the past. You know, what was my life supposed to be like right now? I should have been, I don't know, the one lady who was older, she's 33 years of marriage, was a teacher, and her husband said, hey, you need to retire. We're going to retire and we're going to do all these things. So she quit her job, which she'd been at for 20 years. Loved this, she's a kindergarten teacher. And 8 months later, he said to her, yeah, I'm leaving you. And she was devastated. She just had no idea. Like, her whole life was planned out already. Like, she was almost done. And now it's like, now what, right? And that stumps you.
Yeah.
You know, and
it stops you in your tracks.
Stops you in your tracks, and you're also, you can't really, you wonder, how come I didn't see this coming, or
what did I do wrong?
Yeah, or what should I have done? So they're so focused on all of that, they're living in the past rather than like in the now.
Yeah.
And if you don't live in the now, you can't focus on your future.
Right.
So
keep bringing the past with you into the future.
So I think divorce can be particularly, I mean, it is actually, there's a stress scale. And divorce is second only to death. So
death of
a spouse,
someone else, a spouse. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I've read that like the traumatic things that we go through. Yeah, I mean the death, the divorce. I think moving is right up there at the top.
Oh.
Moving residences.
Well, and also, you know, that happens too. So you get divorced, and maybe you have to sell your house, or maybe you.
Yeah.
It's the uncertainty of the future. It's that you thought everything was set, and then it's not. You know, and the older you are, the harder it is. I mean, not that I'm putting down getting divorced in your 30s must be incredibly traumatic too, but it's not you haven't been with the same person for as long necessarily. So.
Yeah, you don't have the patterns and the.
Right. You've got other issues. You might have little kids. You might have, you know.
Well, I love the fact that you focus on the future. You know, so you're not like a therapist going back and rehashing what's happened.
It's like it's not about him at all. It's not. It's nothing to do with the ex.
Yeah.
It's all about her.
Yeah.
What can we do for you?
And the name of your business is Find Your Fabulous?
Yes, Find Your Fabulous with Fiona.
Find Your
I
Fabulous
like
with
alliteration.
Fiona.
I used to be a teacher.
Find Your Fabulous with Fiona. I love that too. And so tell me a little bit about the book you wrote, because it has a similar name, right?
Yeah, it's called Fearful to Fabulous. Unlock your
Fearful to-
power, move on and thrive after midlife divorce.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, because that's basically where you're fearful,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be fabulous. And fabulous doesn't mean, you know, like some model looking, makeup wearing, gorgeous way. Fabulous is whatever it is for you.
I was going to say, it's you.
Fabulous
you're-
may be like, oh, I'm working in my garden all day and I love it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's what it means to
very
you.
individual.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that a new book? Is it recent?
The book it's an Amazon bestseller and it's been out since April.
Okay.
But it's good news. I got picked up by a New York publisher recently.
Oh, nice.
And so they're going to release it as a paperback. And I'll get the copies in October, but it'll be in stores May next year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going well then, that part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I give it away too. I mean, you know, so you can buy it from Amazon if you like, but also, you know, anybody that contacts me or goes to the fearfultofabulousbook.com, you can download it for free.
Oh, that's really
So,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna show a graphic at the end that has the website.
Yeah.
It's fearfultofabulousbook.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be at the end. Well, that's really nice. So it comes in a PDF form?
Yeah, basically. And honestly, it's not very long.
Yeah,
it's a quick read, but it's, you know,
but
it's informative.
You pack everything in there
Yeah.
that people need to know. It's sort of like a little how-to guide.
Exactly.
Yeah, except it doesn't replace having the life coach. I mean,
That's true. You can read it and you can, you know, get some ideas.
Maybe just to start the wheels turning, like, oh, this would be.
What I discovered is, you know, you can read all this stuff. It's not that necessarily easy to do it by yourself, right?
Right.
But it gets you going in the right direction, and that's what I say. It only takes, you know, you start with what you have, where you are, to do what you can, right? So if the first step is reading a book, then that's great. One little action step at a time.
Right, and that's how that's how we work. It's just one little thing at a time, and wherever we're meant to be, I believe that's where we are right then.
Exactly.
You know, you can't beat yourself up for not being already somewhere else.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it's
along the
overwhelming
line.
too. If you if you look at, you know, this is what I want to be and this is where I am right now, it can be too overwhelming, and so it traps you, right? You know, the comfort zone, I call it the uncomfortable comfort zone, right? It's the uncomfortable comfort zone. It's so much easier to stay where you are, even though you feel miserable, because you don't know what it's going to be like when you step out of that. You know, we have these, you know, the critter brain, whatever, is saying like, no, you did all this stuff yesterday and you woke up this morning and you're good. Right? What if you try something new? You might, I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You better not, right? So take it one little tiny step at a time.
Yeah, people can just get comfortable in their discomfort.
Yeah.
Because it's what they know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one thing that you work with your clients on doing, and helping them get out of their comfort zone. Yeah. But it's not even, like you said, it's really not comfortable, but it is because that's what they know. So it's kind of like this little conundrum.
And it's you know, what I say is your brain is trying to protect you, right? Everything that happens to you, even if it's bad for you, as it were, it's your brain's way of protecting you, right? It's everything that happens to you has a good intention.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're eating too much and you're sitting on the couch munching chips because you don't want to go out, or you don't feel like you have any friends, it might seem really bad, but basically that's your brain's way of protecting you. It's keeping you safe, right? Yeah. So part of it is you need to recognize that that's what's happening, forgive that, and say, okay, well, let's try something else today.
Yeah, that's interesting, because in the coaching training that I did, we call those parts of us loyal soldiers.
Oh, I like that.
So they're like the protectors that have really might have served a really valid and necessary purpose at one point in your life, but now they're holding you back.
Right, exactly.
So it's about recognizing them, thanking them for their service, and then seeing what they need, maybe reassigning them to a different role or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that way of putting it.
Yeah, that's, it can be helpful for people to see that, Yeah. Well, I know you recently had a little car accident. That's why
actually, it wasn't a car accident.
It wasn't a car accident? You have a brace on your back.
I do have a brace,
right now.
yes. I fell off a ladder is what I did.
Oh, my
I decided, see, everything's for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So I think this was actually to make me slow down somewhat.
Oh.
I am kind of one of these people, and I know I do it, and I try and control it. It's like, no, I have to do it now. It has to get done now, and I have to do it myself, which is not always the best way to be. So I decided I needed to fix something in my house, so I climbed a 24-foot ladder, and the ladder slipped away, and I fell.
Oh my
So, and I fell on my back, and I broke a couple of bones in my back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you were by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Luckily, it's almost like I knew it was going to happen. I have my phone in my back pocket,
Okay.
and I managed to roll over and grab the phone and call 911.
Wow, well, thank goodness.
Yes, yeah, it was a lot of luck.
I mean, you seem fine, but I know you're not, but
yeah,
I'm happy that you were able.
I'm mostly fine.
Yeah, but that's, yeah, it could have been worse, I guess.
It could have been a lot worse, and that's the first thing. That's what kept me going through the first, I was in hospital for like 4 days. That's what kept me going. It's like, no, I am grateful.
Yeah.
Like, I am so grateful that all I have to do is wear a back brace right now, because I mean, untold, it could have been awful. Mm-hmm. So.
Wow, well, that is fortunate. Yeah. I know. When you said you had an accident, I guess I assumed it was a car accident.
I think most people think it's a car accident, yeah.
That's
well, you would think, why would I climb a big ladder? That doesn't make many
Well, I guess that, like you said, you needed to get that message,
yes,
but that message was loud and clear,
I actually
right?
just wrote a blog that says, don't climb ladders and other lessons I need to learn.
Oh, how funny
So,
is
yes,
that?
so I outlined all the lessons I'm learning from
that's
so
awesome.
far, from what
I'm
dealing with right now. Yeah.
Good learning experience.
Yeah.
So is that on your website?
It is on my website, yes.
Okay. So you have a regular blog that you...
Regular-ish.
Semi-regular. Yeah. Well, good. We'll look forward to seeing that on your website.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to just share before we wrap up? We're going to wrap up in about a minute.
No. You know what I'd say is, if you're watching this and you are having any kind of life issues, and I'm not saying about me, it's reach out for somebody else to help you. Not me, not necessarily you, just somebody around you, a friend. One of my lessons that I learned was it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Reach out.
It's not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of bravery.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, Fiona. It was
Thank
really
you.
a pleasure having you.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience for being here for this episode of Spiritual Connection with Fiona Eckersley. Look forward to seeing you next time. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn, signing off. Good night and blessings. Thank you. All right. That was fast, wasn't it?